Is this the biggest sports card flip of all time? And we've got GemRate grading data for December. Let's talk through it. Hello to all my sports card collectors, investors, all of my collectibles friends. Another day, another card video. How the heck are we doing, guys?
I feel pretty good too. I think I finally got some sleep.
If you're new here and you're looking for just about daily sports card collectibles videos, and guys, you have come to the right place. If you know me by now, you know that I am coming with it. Make sure to hit the big red button down below the subscribe button, as we will keep these videos coming. Also connect with me on IG at SportsCardDad, and I'm also on the Twitter, the SportsCardDad. Big shout out to video sponsor ComC.com, your home for buying, selling, and flipping all the hottest trading cards. Their consignment marketplace now home to over 30 million cards, from baseball superstars like Aaron Judge to Marvel favorites like Spider-Man. ComC has something for every type of collector. Guys, make sure to visit ComC.com today to build out your collection with your favorite cards. Literally the Disneyland for card collectors. Check them out. All right, we got some recent news. I saw this from a variety of different sources. Shine150 on IG, probably one of the most prolific card collectors, investors, whatever you want to call it, recently shared that he was the buyer for the $3.1 million Luka Logo Man autograph card, probably the best Luka card in existence. And he's the buyer. But guess what? He was also the buyer in 2019, December, for about $400,000, and he was the seller at $4.6 million or thereabouts. So Shine essentially bought this card for just over $400,000, sold it for about $4.6 million, and then bought it back for $3.1 million. So you look at that and it's kind of like, I know a lot of us talk about, man, it's great if you can kind of buy and sell to where your collection is free, so to speak. You're taking profits to buy other things, and so essentially your cost basis is covered, and that's kind of what he was able to accomplish here. You might think like, man, $3 million is a lot to buy back into it. But for him, if you look at where he bought it, where he sold it, and then where he spent again, he used profits to get that card. Very, very cool story, an interesting story, because you don't necessarily see this, especially kind of on the high end. You're seeing a lot of whales that are kind of selling out of cards, but not necessarily buy back in the same card. So this is a really interesting story. Congrats to Shine for getting the card back. It is one of those amazing cards. I mean, I'm a Luka collector. I would say that loosely. I'm not a massive Luka collector, but he's my guy, my NBA guy that I'm cheering for of the young prospects. He's proven himself as kind of that top tier NBA prospect. He just hasn't won titles yet, or MVPs, all the good stuff that is hopefully coming for him in the years to come. But so high risk card, obviously. This isn't a Mickey Mantle for $3 million. It's not a Babe Ruth or whatever. It is a Luka Doncic card. So very interesting, and thought I would share that for anyone that might have missed it. All right, GemRate.com. Ryan over there came out with his monthly data set, kind of going through the big four, as we would call it. That's PSA, BGS, CSG/CGC, and BGS Beckett. So we've got kind of the biggest grading companies. He covers the data based on pop reports, and it's interesting. He added a nice little nugget here this month that I want to go over as well. So first off, let's just hit the numbers. PSA, very impressive. Over 1 million cards, 1.062 million cards. That's up 7% from last month. And I'm kind of, again, we talked about this on last month, but I know that Nat Turner had said that the goal is 50,000 cards a day. That's their target. And if you break down a month, you take the weekends out, it's about 21 business days. So 50,000 cards, it's about 1 million cards a month. So it begs the question, is that their capacity? It kind of seems like it is. It seems like their capacity is right at that million, maybe 1.1, maybe 1.2, but they're right at their capacity, humming along, very efficient. One prediction I had that has really kind of come true is the large number of TCG that makes up their total business. I mean, we're now looking at about 45% of their business is non-sports /TCG cards. So tons of sports cards, obviously, 614,000 sports cards. It's tremendous. But the thing that I guess I just didn't expect is they're also tacking on another 450,000 TCG and non-sports cards to that mix. So that, man, they are churning right along. So I assume that they're probably building a little backlog there. I'm assuming if that's their capacity is right at that 1 million, 1.1, maybe they're building a little backlog, but I highly doubt they'll ever get to a backlog to what they had going back to the pandemic when they had, 10, 12, 15 million cards sitting there that they were trying to figure out. Obviously, they have just expanded their capacity to where they can certainly handle it. And so little backlog might not even be a bad thing. It shows that they've got some business there that they've always kind of got. So interesting there. PSA continues to move ahead. The train rolls along. CSG at 110,000 cards. They're down 17%. And the one thing we've talked about this, they're really, really strong on TCG and non-sports. You got the Marvel folks that like their CGC graded comic books and their CSG Marvel graded cards. But man, their sports cards have really kind of taken a hit at 34,000 cards. That puts them at less than half of SGC and just above Beckett for what Beckett is doing on the sports card side. So, and I know on top of that, they've been running specials to increase these numbers. So interesting to see what CSG does on their sports card side. Not really much of a concern on their non-sports TCG side. They are doing very, very well there with 76,000 cards. All right, SGC. Now, before I talk SGC, of course, we always do it. They are a sponsor of the channel. They are a partner of the channel. So I do have built-in bias there. They are my favorite grading company, but I am a big believer really in all four of these grading companies. I love the fact that consumers / collectors / investors have four strong options outside of the other grading options out there. Four strong companies that are constantly competing with one another and making each other better. So this is to me, the grading environment is great right now. And so with that said, SGC at 78,000 cards, that's up 10% from last month, 73,000 sports cards, 5,000 non-sports TCG. They're up a little bit on their non-sports TCG side, which is something I've talked about. I think that that's really kind of their area of like, hey, where can we grow? That's just that obvious one that's just sticking out there. At 5,000 cards, Beckett's at 23,000 cards, and all the other grading companies are grading more on that TCG side. They were running that Bowman Chrome baseball card special at that $9 special that probably gave them a nice little boost there. And so we'll see what happens for SGC. I know there's a lot of things that they're talking about coming in the new year and different kind of initiatives, different plans. And we will see what happens with that, see if that gives them more of a boost moving forward. Last but not least, we've got Beckett at 48,000 cards for the month. They're down slightly, but it's very similar to last month. I think they were at 50 or 52,000 last month. 25,000 sports cards, 23,000 non-sports TCG. This is the one that is so interesting to me because, again, everyone talks about the demise of BGS and Beckett. It's very popular to talk about how horrible they are. I hear it everywhere, but they remain the biggest brand name in terms of Dr. Beckett's name that's in this space. Yeah, PSA, of course, built a great brand, don't get me wrong, and SGC, longtime company, good brand as well. But Dr. Beckett's name is on Beckett, which keeps them relevant. Honestly, if Beckett had ever changed their name to Jimmy Smith's Grading or whatever, I don't know if they would still be around, but that Beckett name is really important. So let's see, does Beckett have gas in the tank here in 2023 to kind of spin things around, move things in their direction? We will continue to watch and find out. All right, one thing that Ryan did too, GemRate, this was really, really cool. And maybe I missed this from the last month. I think this maybe is something new, but maybe it's not. So if I missed it last month, apologies. But he makes note of what each grading company is grading the most of in terms of sets to give you kind of an idea of what that looks like for each company. For PSA, it's a ton of ultra modern, in December anyway, ton of ultra modern football, basketball, and then 86 Fleer. Those are their top sets. Now, of course, they graded a bunch of other things, but as far as just the top sets, that's what they worked on the most. This was kind of amazing with SGC, a lot of baseball, ultra modern, of course, the Bowman Chrome stuff with the special, but then 50s and 60s baseball sets. 50s and 60s baseball sets, and this was different than all the other companies. Vintage resale is very strong with SGC. It's comparable to PSA. I know there's a lot of talk, about PSA dominates resale, and with many card sets, they do, but there is nuance, just like with anything, shades of gray in life. There is nuance to that debate, and vintage baseball, vintage cards in general, SGC is a strong grading company. Vintage cards, very strong on resale for SGC, and frankly, costs less to grade. I've seen many comparisons online comparing, okay, I had this sub of vintage cards that I sent to SGC, and then I priced it out what it would cost to grade it through PSA, and it's a dramatic difference. So I think that that's the reason why you see this. Not only less to grade it, but then also resale comparable to PSA. Makes total sense there. CSG, mostly all ultra modern stuff. Ultra modern across the board. And I forgot to pull up Beckett's, but I believe it's the same. Beckett's recent numbers have not ever shown a strong vintage. It's mainly been more on the modern, ultra modern side for BGS, just looking back over the last little bit over the last couple of years. And so interesting stuff there. I wanted to share that with you all. Guys, let me know your thoughts. Any surprises here as far as the grading landscape goes? And what about that Luka Doncic flip? Now, I should give credit because actually I called this like, oh, this is like the biggest sports card flip ever, question mark. Vegas Dave, technically with his $400,000 Trout that he bought for, I think, $400,000 and sold for $3 or $4 million. He's right up there as well. But this is a very interesting case because then bought it back. You know, did Vegas Dave ever buy the Mike Trout back, or would he? Probably not. Maybe he would, but probably not. So I thought that was cool. Congrats to Shine 150 on that one. Stay healthy, stay awesome, and I will talk to you again later.